Today is the start of World FTD Awareness Week 2023, a global week of action to end FTD. All week, I'll be sharing great interviews on different aspects of FTD, and I'll share actions you can take to benefit yourself and the people around you, and to help advance a future free of FTD and all forms of neurodegenerative disease. The theme for today is self-care, an often overlooked topic for many of us. Taking steps to support our own health is important, whether you're a caregiver, someone carrying a genetic variant that causes FTD, or living with FTD today. I'm here with Dr. Darby Morhardt. Darby is a professor in the Mesulam Center of Cognitive Neurology and Alzheimer's Disease and Department of Preventive Medicine at Northwestern University's Feinberg School of Medicine. She is also the director of Mesulam Center's Outreach, Recruitment, and Community Engagement Core, their quality of life initiatives, as well as clinical social work services for the Northwestern Medicine, Neurobehavior, and Memory Clinic. Welcome, and I'm so grateful for you to be spending time with us here today. So we know caregivers tend to put our loved ones' needs above our own. But you know the saying that you must put your oxygen mask on before you help others. So this is what I would love for this conversation to be about. So, when I talk to other care partners, I see within myself that there seems to be this common thread of trying to achieve perfection for our loved ones who we are caring for. Do you know what that philosophy is around that? And can that be harmful to a care partner?
Hello, Emma. It's good to be with you also today. That whole idea of being a perfect caregiver is one that is a very normal feeling to have. Where, being a caregiver to someone living with a dementia requires a lot of commitment and devotion, and of course, you want to try to provide the very best care that you possibly can. A lot of times that person may have cared for us, and so you want to make sure that you're giving back. Or in some situations, relationships can be complicated, and it can be, you providing that best care can provide some healing to a relationship. And, but unfortunately, because of this unpredictable degenerative illness, it has its fluctuations, and caregivers are facing a lot of challenges in any given day that they're not expecting. And there's no possible way that you can be prepared for everything. You're not going to always have the perfect thing to say. You're not going to always remain patient and calm. It's humanly impossible to be the perfect caregiver, especially long-term. But it's normal to struggle with that nagging feeling like you're not doing enough, and keep asking yourself, is there more that I can do? And, the guilt can kick in then, and it can become a vicious, never-ending cycle. So, in order to quash the guilt, you may fill your life up with tasks. And, it may be important that you recognize that that's what you're doing, is you're filling that void up with all of the tasks, and then ignoring what you need and want. And that can come at a really high price as a caregiver. So again, the truth about being a perfect caregiver is it's impossible.
And it can be so harmful, I would imagine, that you put yourself in a position of caring so much for someone else. And I've read statistics of what that looks like when, I was speaking with a doctor not too long ago, and he says he's seen so many cases come through where actually the caregiver passes away for the person with dementia. And that to me was like staggering, but I hear that's true. Have you, not all the time, but have you seen cases or heard something like that?
Yes, I've read that, and I've seen that where caregivers are focusing so much on the care for their person that they're ignoring their own needs. They're ignoring their own health care. They're not going to the doctor. They're not exercising. They're not eating well. They're not sleeping. They may be drinking too much. All those things are compounding and really negatively affecting how they're doing physically and emotionally. So it's so important to be focused on that. It's important for us as clinicians, we need to be asking our caregiving families how they're doing. Their focus cannot be just on the person, the patient living with dementia, but on the family caregiver as well, because the person with dementia needs the caregiver to stay well, to continue to take care of them over time. Unfortunately, this can last a long time. And you need to figure out, how you're going to do this over the long term.
Yeah, I mean, I think that going into the doctor's office, sure, or the neurologist, and they are so focused, of course, and they should be focused on their patient, but it is really important to be able to be given some resources. The care partner needs resources. They need
Essential.
they need that social worker to come in and step in and say, hey, this is what you need to do. Like, it's like sometimes you just need someone to, you're thinking and managing so much that sometimes you just need someone else to be like, this is what you need. Here is a packet of everything that you need that you can do to take care of yourself, because caregivers, care partners are so ill prepared. We're not trained. We don't know what we don't know until we have to learn as we go. So I think that being able to get that support within that doctor's office, not only for your loved one, but for yourself, is crucial.
And I work in a clinic where it's a luxury to have a multidisciplinary team, and we have social workers who are available to all of our families. But I know that a lot of doctors' offices do not have that. But it's really important that each physician, though, have someone outside of their clinics that they can refer people to. I always like to say to families, well, what does a social worker do? What can I expect from you? And I always say, well, the doctor really teased out the diagnosis very carefully. You went through a lot of tests to arrive at the name of what you are now living with. And now it's a matter of, how do you live with this? And and my role is to really be available to you as you live with this, and in the best way possible, with the highest quality of life you can, because there isn't any medical treatments that we have now. So we need to look at the non-medical ways of living the best life possible with this.
Yeah. This leads me to my next question then. So, what are some evidence-based ways we can tilt the scales to prioritize our health as caregivers? Like, how are we trying to make ourselves a priority in the midst?
Well, there's been a lot of evidence around various ways of taking care of yourself, by exercise probably has some of the best evidence in terms of reducing stress and for heart and brain health, eating well, getting enough sleep. But it's also important to have those internal approaches to your own self in terms of being kind to yourself and being compassionate to yourself. And, getting rid of that harsh inner critic, or, being able to have a dialogue with that harsh inner critic that says we should be doing more, finding a balance. Things are ever changing, but it's important to recognize that your needs as a caregiver aren't secondary. to your person's needs. And so portioning out your attention and not putting your life on hold is very important. Another one is maintaining your connections with family and friends and really building that network of support around you as much as you're able to. Accepting the limitations of others, though, too, because you may be expecting more from family and friends than they're able to give. And that can also lead to stress and frustration. So really finding that sense of acceptance and adaptation and what people are not able to give, finding other sources of support that may be able to come in and give that to you.
Can you find or suggest ways to keep up to date on our own medical checkups? Now, I know what I do, which I'm happy to share. I for instance, every year I make sure that I am getting my mammogram or pap smear or, whatever it is that I need to do to sort of look after myself. I just make sure that once I go in, I schedule, or I schedule a year in advance if that's possible, or I just put a reminder in my phone a year out. So let's say I go in for my mammograms, January, 2023. So in my calendar, I'm going to put January 2024, big bold, like January 1st, make your mammogram appointment. That's kind of how I keep track of things. I did miss my mammogram this year because I scheduled it, missed it, it just flew off my calendar, and then realized, months later that like, oh my God, I missed it. And then scheduled it. So it's just so easy, again, when you're looking after everyone else within your household, you really do forget about yourself. And it's so important to have those self-care doctor reminders just sort of built in. I mean, is there anything that you can add or suggest that, to be able for us to prioritize those medical checkups?
Yeah, I think what you're doing is excellent, scheduling them in advance, but like you said, it's easy to miss those appointments or put someone else's appointment or needs ahead of those. You may mean to reschedule it, but then never do. I like to think that a primary care physician, and I know this is putting a lot on them, but a good primary care physician is going to make sure that all of those things need to be done, those checkups. So make sure that you have a good primary doctor who, if you missed your mammogram one year, is making sure that you get an appointment, who's making sure you're getting your flu shot, making sure you're getting your, at any annual checkup, so that you get that follow-up that you need, because so having that secondary person in your life that can do it. And I think a primary care physician is a good person to rely upon.
Yeah, I didn't realize that they're supposed to do that. Mine doesn't do that. Okay.
Whoops.
Okay. Whoopsie. Well,
I have one of the best primary care physicians in the world, I think. So I think they should all go to the school of Dr. Mary Beth Richmond.
It sounds like it. Yeah, no, that's interesting. I mean, I guess, yes, they should be, but it's on you to be able to follow up with the doctor to make sure that all those checklists, it's just really important. I mean, really, it's just, I can't stress this enough, how important it is to look after ourselves, because
another way of having reminders about taking care of yourself is attending a caregiver support group. And we offer support groups at our center, and I know they're offered throughout the country. And in those, the facilitators and also other family members can be talking to each other and supporting each other, that how important it is to take care of yourself.
Mhm. You'd kind of hit on this earlier, but can you give us some ideas on some of the best things that we can do to manage the everyday stress levels that come with caregiving?
Yeah, I think that making time for yourself during the course of a week, but the course of every single day, you find yourself getting stressed, losing your patience, to make sure that you have ways of coping with that. Do you need to go do a breathing exercise, or just simply walk out of the room or go for a walk? Making sure, of course, that your person is safe and cared for, but that you really need to have that time for yourself. Making sure, again, that you're eating well, that you're exercising, that you're sleeping. All of those are so vital, and that you're not doing something that's harming your health.
Mhm. Okay, so what about self-care for people at risk? People who know they're carrying an FTD variant and people living with FTD? Are there different things to consider?
For someone who's at risk or carrying mutation, they have been given this information that their life is, well, for those who have the mutation, they will have this disease. Those at risk may get it. So this is something that's known to them, that's going to be a part of their life. I mean, those of us who don't have a genetic mutation of some kind, have this idea that we don't know what's going to happen. Those who do know have an opportunity to plan their lives in a way that they might not otherwise have. They know that life is finite, as we all do, but they really know, and that they can now make sure that they do what they want to do with their life, and stay connected to the people that they want to stay connected to. So it gives more focus. I know that it's turning it around, but it's important, I think, to see it that way.
Darby, is there anything else that you want to cover today on self-care that we didn't hit on that you'd like to share, possibly?
Well, I think all caregivers really need to know how much they're making a difference in the lives of their person, and to make sure that you're giving yourself credit for all that you're doing.
That's beautiful. Thank you. I'm going to get into the calls of action for today.
Okay.
So first, take one small positive step today for your own self-care. Have a coffee with a friend, take a walk, visit a park or restaurant, or just spend a few minutes reading a book or listening to a favorite song. Be sure to focus for at least a few moments on caring for yourself. Tell others about what you're doing on social media and encourage them to take a moment for self-care too. Head to the link below where you'll find messaging and graphics you can download and share. And if you haven't already, we encourage you to change your profile picture on social media to show the world that you care about FTD. Just visit the link below and follow the simple instructions. Darby, thank you so much for coming on today and talking to us about self-care and the importance of self-care and why it's important to do it without guilt.
Thank you so much, Emma.
Thank you.